Have you ever noticed the fascinating parallel between the evolution of the housing market in Seattle, Washington and the rock and roll scene during the 90s? During the 90s, the housing market in Seattle echoed the pulsating beat of the rock and roll era. As the grunge movement, led by bands like Nirvana and Pearl Jam, surged in popularity, so did the housing in Seattle. This significant decade marked a major boom in the housing market, with prices soaring as demand increased. Just as grunge music, a subgenre of rock and roll, reverberated through airwaves and concert halls, the bustling housing market was a testament to Seattle's growing appeal. However, as with any boom, a bust was bound to follow. The housing market crash of 2008 was a devastating blow, with Seattle's housing and rent market feeling the pinch. Rock and roll faced a decline in the face of rising pop and hip-hop. Still, both proved to be resilient. As rock and roll continues to influence new generations of musicians, the housing market in Seattle has rebounded. This parallel paints an exciting picture of Seattle in the 90s, a decade marked by a booming housing market and a pulsating rock and roll scene. Just like the varied subgenres in grunge, Seattle's rental market in the 90s displayed its own unique versatility. In the same way that grunge rocked the music scene and defined a generation, the rental market in Seattle experienced a notable fluctuation. The post-grunge era and the economic recession of the late 90s saw Seattle's rental industry play a complex tune of local socio-economic elements. Just as grunge, which its roots in the alternative rock of the early 90s and evolved with the rise of breakthrough bands like Nirvana and Pearl Jam, the rental market in Seattle had to keep up with the times. The tech 90s shift towards premium rentals and luxury condos in the city, echoing how grunge evolved into post-grunge and alternative metal to cater to diverse audience. But it's not just about survival. Both Seattle's rental market and grunge boomed in spite of adversity. Despite dot-com bubble burst, grunge remained a dominant force in the music industry, influencing countless artists and shaping indie culture as we know it. Similarly, Seattle's rental market showed its resilience, providing housing solutions for its diverse population, despite the economic downturn. So, what's the secret to their success? In both cases, it's about understanding the audience, or in the case of rentals, the tenants. It's about predicting their needs, their preferences, and budget. It's about being versatile, adjustable, and innovative. Just as grunge music evolved to incorporate sound styles, Seattle's rental market had to innovate to meet the needs of a diverse and ever-changing populace. And so, the rhythm continued, with grunge and Seattle's rental market dancing to the beat of the turbulent 90s, always ready to adapt, evolve, and keep the show going. In both Seattle's rental market and grunge, adaptation and evolution have been key to their continued success. In our climactic conclusion, we'll meld together the intertwined narratives of housing, renting, and rock and roll during the exhilarating decade of the 90s in the vibrant city of Seattle, Washington. Fast forward to today, and the echoes of the 90s are still felt in the city's current housing market. The average cost of a home in Seattle is now an estimated $750,000, while the monthly rent for an apartment averages around $2,200. Each element of our narrative, while appearing distinct, is deeply interlaced, their destinies closely linked in fascinating ways. They exude a robust spirit, a characteristic that saw them tackle the challenges of the 90s and the subsequent decades with courage and unwavering resilience, mimicking the powerful chords of Seattle's legendary grunge anthems. They also reveal an uncommon talent for evolution, an ability to metamorphose with the ever-shifting zeitgeist. The housing and renting landscapes in Seattle in the 90s underwent remarkable transformations, from the surge of suburban sprawl to the birth of fashionable downtown lofts. Similarly, rock and roll scene constantly reshaped itself, securing its place at the heart of popular music during the grunge-fueled decade. And their allure, much like the decade itself, endures. Just as the raw power of rock and roll continues to captivate audiences worldwide, the aspiration of owning a home or renting a trendy loft in Seattle, or indeed in today's high-priced market, still strikes a chord. So, the next time you indulge in a rock and roll riff or envision the 90s housing market in Seattle, remember, they've both embarked on extraordinary voyages, each pulsating with their unique rhythm and beat. As we draw our journey to a close, we pause a while to reflect on the harmonious symphony we just navigated. The 90s housing market in Seattle, the vibrant rock and roll culture, and the dynamic renting landscape, each played a distinctive part, and together, They composed an era indelibly imprinted in our memory. An era that was a vibrant mosaic of change, expansion, and extraordinary resilience, echoing with the potent chords of rock and roll. Before we progress further, let's travel back to the core of the 90s in Seattle, a time when the city was teeming with life and vibrating with intensity. The lifestyle was relaxed and the culture varied. Cafes overflowed with up-and-coming musicians and artists, while the scent of fresh coffee provided rhythm to their dreams. More than just a cluster of buildings, the city was a feeling, a way of life that epitomized the essence of rock and roll. In our current time, where the echoes of the 90s are still felt, we can identify the wave-like effects of that era on today's housing and renting markets. Modern-day Seattle has transformed and grown, boasting a lively music scene that continues to attract creatives from all corners of the world. It provides varied housing options from charming bungalows to stylish skyscrapers, rendering it a sanctuary for all. The bustling rental market paves the way for anyone nurturing dreams of residing in this city. A home in Seattle or a trendy loft remains a dream for many, as the charm of rock and roll continues to captivate audiences worldwide. Just like a timeless masterpiece, these elements persist and adapt, leaving their distinct imprint on every new era. As we close this chapter and glimpse into the future, let's remember the remarkable journeys of the housing market, the renting landscape, and the rock and roll culture of Seattle. Each has a rhythm, a heartbeat. Together, they compose a symphony that reverberates through the decades. Like an unforgettable rock and roll encore, their influence persists long after the final chord is played. This is why Seattle isn't just a city, it's an experience, a way of life, a beacon for those who dance to their own rhythm. If you enjoyed this journey through the rock and roll era and the housing market, please like this video and subscribe to our channel for more content like this. Keep rocking and rolling, and until next time, stay